Today's video is all about distance, and we're not looking at any kind of structural, big, must-do kind of drilling the golf swing to get you hitting much further, but we're just looking for a few of the easy wins, the low-hanging fruit, those kind of things that people do or don't do to leave distance on the table each and every day that can be very easily rectified just with a nudge in the right direction. So without further ado, let's find out what those things are. Now, our first point of call is height, and in turn, loft. Loft on the golf ball to get that golf ball in the air, and especially for you guys who are slightly slower swing speed players, height is your friend. The longer that golf ball is in the air, the more time that golf ball has to travel, reach its maximum, reach its optimum distance, and the first port of call where we're going to look at is the driver, the actual golf club itself. So I swing in and around the 110-ish kind of mile per hour mark on a good day, and I've got a 9.5 degree driver, so 10.5 notched down to 9.5. And that's kind of perfect for me. If you're someone who hits the golf ball quite low, if you're generally kind of struggling with a bit of speed, you might want to notch that up to like a 12, 13. Some drivers even go up to 14 degrees, get that golf ball up in the air for as long as possible. If you're not too sure with that, I would definitely strongly recommend seeking out advice from your local PGA pro, but definitely have a look at the driver, have a look at the ball flight. If you feel like it's coming out a little bit low or you're kind of struggling with a bit of speed, get some loft on that golf club, get that golf ball airborne to begin with. Number two, when we're setting up to the golf ball, be aware of where your hands are, and this can sometimes come from a conceptual conversation. Now with the irons, we like a little bit of shaft lean, so we can strike the ground just after the golf ball to get that kind of strike. But the driver is very much different, and especially when it comes to height. We already don't have like the 30, 40 degree kind of mark of loft like we do on some of our irons. We've got like, as I said, 9.5 degree. So why would I want to put the handle any further forwards? If I notch that golf club forwards 9 degrees, I now have 0 degrees on my golf club. I'm going to struggle to get that golf ball in the air regardless of how much speed I have. So just let the golf club rest. We don't want it kind of back here like that, but we certainly don't want that golf club forwards. Just let it rest dead straight. Give or take, you want the golf club to be pointing somewhat in line with the left armpit. Not up, but from a back to front perspective, it wants to be somewhat in line with my left armpit, and that is appropriate shaft lean. So you're basically just delivering the loft that the golf club has at setup onto the golf ball, all things equal. Number three, at setup, when we're looking at the golf ball itself, make sure your tee height is appropriate. Especially if someone who wants to get that golf ball up in the air, encourage that upwards angle of attack, which is absolutely paramount when it comes to achieving maximum distance with your driver. As a rough rule of thumb, at least make sure we have the golf ball somewhat half of the golf ball above the crown of the golf club. If you are someone who does naturally hit up on the golf ball, you can go a little bit higher. And if you are someone who hits down the golf ball, especially kind of slices who come over the top, you might go a smidge kind of down for the short term just to get you around the golf course, but I don't really like anyone having a tee height where the golf ball isn't at least half above the crown of the golf club. I like to see that, or kind of as a maximum a whole ball above the golf ball, so we can get that golf club moving on the way up. So your three keys at setup. Make sure you have appropriate loft on the golf club. Make sure the golf club just rests so the hands predominantly are in a good place. Certainly not too far forward, just kind of fairly straight, somewhat in line with the lead armpit. And just make sure your tee height is in an appropriate place from there. The second port of call and what we're looking at in the swing is how we move. So if I was to go and throw a golf ball as far as I can down that range, I'd make a nice big wind up so I've got all that leverage, I've got all that meat on the bone to launch, turn into power and throw that golf ball as far as I can. And the same kind of rule of thumb applies to hitting the golf ball with my golf club as far as I can as well. I want to make a nice big wind up, a nice big coin up, so I can deliver that power that I've loaded up and stored in the backswing onto the golf ball to turn that into energy. And doing that in the correct way is really important. What we'll oftentimes see is a lot of people who make, kind of for lack of a better phrase, a fake turn. What do I mean by that? They'll kind of say, yeah, I've got to get the arms as far and as high as possible, look kind of a little bit like this, but I've not really kind of turned anywhere. My hips haven't gone anywhere. My body's only kind of turned because my arms have had to go somewhere. You can sometimes see the arms collapse. There's not really a lot of a load in that golf ball. Two main things want to happen in order to create leverage, in order to create that kind of coiling up move on the backswing to create that power, is we want to make nice sufficient turn, and we want to have a little bit of pressure shift coming into the lead side. And one really key move that we can use to do that in a nice, user-friendly and effective way is to think about your lead shoulder to my left shoulder and getting that to rotate so that my lead shoulder is over my trail quad. So left shoulder over right quad. what have I now done? I've made a nice good turn of the shoulders. I've got pressure moving appropriately into my kind of trail leg. No more than kind of 10% or so. We don't want to be swaying. We just want a little bit of pressure shift into the trail side. And you'll see how my trail hips gone back, my chest has turned, my arms have created a nice big curl up of the golf ball, and I am now fractionally behind the golf ball so we can create that upwards moving kind of feel on the way onto the golf ball to turn that into power. So once we got our setup in a good place, can we just think about making a nice effective coin up of the golf ball in the simplest way? Just get your lead shoulder over your trail leg in a nice rotational manner, and you're in a pretty good place there. You've turned well, you've pressure shifted well, you're ready to move on to the golf ball now. So now that we understand setup and how to make a good solid coiled up backswing, our final part of this video is how do we get back to the golf ball in a nice powerful manner, and that's why I'm going to use this alignment stick in order to help you understand. If I was to put my golf ball on the floor, grip my alignment stick and ask you to swoosh this alignment stick as loud as possible, how would I make that swoosh really loud? I would be using the release of my hands and my arms in the right manner to create that kind of swoosh, versus what some people do where they kind of use the big bits in the upper body to just kind of throw themselves back up to the golf ball. I can do that as hard as I want, and I'm going to struggle to make that kind of alignment swoosh at all, yet alone kind of swoosh in a nice, powerful way. So we want to think about using the hands and arms to release the golf club, to create power, to create speed into the golf ball to achieve my maximum distance. So that nice kind of turn to the top, and my hands and arms to swoosh. And once we understand that feeling, grab your golf club. Remember those setup keys. My tee height's appropriate, my golf club's appropriate, so all I need to do now is just make sure my golf club's in the appropriate place, not kind of forwards or backwards. I'm going to get this shoulder over my right leg so I can coil up in the right way and swoosh that golf club back down to the golf ball to hit that golf ball as far as I can. So there's some of the most common and thankfully some of the easiest kind of fixes when it comes to leaving distance on the table that you can take, deploy into the golf course tomorrow to start out driving your buddies if you don't already. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to drop me a comment in the comment section down below, or drop me a follow on my socials. For any kind of online or in-person coaching, drop me a follow on the SKILLEST app, search David Atkins and drop me a message from there. But until next time, catch you on the next one.